Ginny and David, thank you so much for being on the show today. Very excited to have you. For those that haven't met you before at CertainPath Expo or training, can you share with everyone your names, your company name, where you guys are located?
Absolutely. I'm Ginny Fowble with Linn's Plumbing. I'm the operations manager here for the last 10 years, and we're in Chandler, Oklahoma.
Very good. Who's this gentleman to your left?
I'm David Ford. I am the technician supervisor here at
Good. Very good. Dave, how long have you been there?
I've been with the company. Today marks 7 years.
7 years. Very good. Very, very good for the industry. Oh, is it right? Today is the day. All right. Very cool. Well, hey, how about this? An interview on your anniversary. Well, I appreciate you guys sitting down with me. I'm very excited to talk to you. I know we're talking for a great reason. Business has been really good, especially the last 6-8 months. You guys have been very busy implementing different things, working on culture, just getting better. Kind of share with everyone what's been going on the last 6-8 months.
Well, we started off with having to change our culture. As you mentioned it, we went from low morale to now we have guys that love coming to work in the morning just to talk about the jobs from the previous days.
Cool.
We've actually just been able to give them that time in the mornings so that they don't feel so rushed.
Yeah.
We have done additional things like we're now doing one-on-ones with our guys. I do it every other week like clockwork. We talk about previous jobs. We talk about the previous month, where they need their help with. And on the other side, what can I do to make myself better?
Yeah. Okay. Very interesting. What, and obviously, that's all great stuff and it's huge. And I'm sure that's helped with the business being successful as well. And I want to highlight that business is good. You guys have a stretch goal of $2 million this year. You hit $1 million by June, right? So that's good. And you share with me before we hit your gross margins, probably better than it's ever been, right? 65% gross margin, if you don't mind me sharing with everyone. So that's good. And I think it goes hand in hand, right? With the morale, you get the right systems in place, you get the right people in place. And it's funny how good things come from that.
Absolutely.
Let me ask you do you think it was you guys are just so busy running calls? And I know everyone's been busy since COVID that you kind of felt like there was a slip, or it just got too busy and you took your eye off making sure everyone was having at least a little fun at work?
Yes, we it got to the point to where we were busy, and then instead of having our talks, instead of having our fun Fridays, it was more so, let's get in here, let's get your stuff, and let's get out. Let's start taking care of these customers.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Now, how do you guys feel about everything today? I mean, Ginny, what do you think? This is the family business, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yep. So back when Dad started this business 44 years ago, it was always off of referrals and repeat customers. And so 100% satisfaction guaranteed and taking the time with the customers. And I think David is absolutely right. He, as a technician for the last 6 years, this year stepping into his supervisor role, I think that's what we were missing a technician that worked with the guys, that knew the guys, that would listen to the guys, that would take their concerns seriously. And so they feel heard. And so one thing that has really been critical to the morale change has been he gives them that time in the morning, the office, if you will. We are 3 girls in the office and, 7 guys out in the field. So we do have a little bit of the girls stay kind of out of that and give them a time to communicate with David. Yeah. And that has really been the difference for us, and really focusing on satisfaction guaranteed. How do we, if we didn't do it right today, how do we improve that for tomorrow?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's driving sales. Yeah.
Yes. Very good. I want to really dig into David, you stepping into this new role, and we'll get into that in just a minute, but I don't want to lose sight of, I always love to tell people's stories, and each of you have, I want to learn both of your stories, how you got to where you are today. Jen, let's start with you in the family business. So you said your dad started it. When did it get started?
Yeah, so it started when I was a baby in 1981. He was in the Army and then later in the Air Force, and started his plumbing career there. Got out and he started a plumbing and HVAC business here in Chandler, Oklahoma years ago. And mom and dad went through ups and downs over the last, 43 years, whatever. He really has established a good reputation in our county. We have kind of switched to just doing a lot of service work and stuff based on the reputation and the business that he built. And then he hired me in about 10 years ago just to kind of take care of all the operations so he could start to step back. So he turned 73 this year. And so he has been able to just come in about once or twice a month and check on everybody and see how it's going. But that was kind of his goal 10 years ago. And so that's how I got to the business.
Sure. What were you doing? You said 10 years ago you came back. What were you doing before then?
So I was in banking. I was a regional manager for a bank for in banking for 16 and a half years with that particular bank for about 3 years.
Yeah.
And just was going to take a break and kind of help him out. And then it turned into, hey, I want you to go get your contractor's license and your journeyman's license. And so today I went from banking to plumbing. So
were you bought in right away, or did it take a little convincing?
It took some time. Yeah. David wanted to hear about it. Yeah. I showed up every day for the first 3 months, still in pantyhose and high heels, thinking, no, I was not going to be a plumber. I am just going to run this office.
Yeah.
Quickly, I figured out that no, I was his plan, his retirement.
What did the company look like then? Like, how many trucks were you running back then when you came back 10 years ago? I guess Dad was in the truck still, right, every day, or?
Yeah, Dad was doing the digging and excavating. We had 2 plumbers at the time. We had a service plumber full time, and then we had another plumber doing work stuff with Dad. So we went from 2 plumbers, and back then we had never hit $1 million in revenue. We were toppling right around 800, 900,000. And then that first year we went up to 1.1, and then it just steadily increased every year for the last 10 years. So year before last we hit 2 million. So we went 1.969, I believe it was. So we're going to call it 2 million, and then we're striving for that again this year.
That's very exciting. Very exciting. And David, let's talk about your journey in the industry. How did you get started in plumbing? What was your gateway?
Well, when I lived in Texas, I actually worked for a plumbing supply house.
Okay.
I was on the counter for 4 years. Then I was the warehouse manager for another 4. And during that time, I picked up a lot about the service. Old timers would come in with the new technology, and we'd have to teach them.
Sure.
I ended up moving to Chandler again 7 years ago. Needed a job, and I actually got in with insurance.
Okay. Interesting.
3 months later, my boss had a conversation with Ginny and came to me and said, hey, with your background, you're not making me any money. You're not making yourself any money. Would you be interested in get you an interview? I said, absolutely.
Yeah.
He said, all right. So I came in that day for an interview, and rest is history.
Wow. So at that point, you came in as like an apprentice, right? Because, you had never been in the field. You knew obviously the materials and the supplies from working in a supply house, but in terms of doing it, wow. Okay, so
knowledge.
What's that?
So I had a little bit of practical knowledge.
Sure. Oh, for sure. Of course. But running calls though had not been something you had done previously. It sounds like. Okay, very good.
I met him on that first interview, and I knew that he had excellent communication skills. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, he already knows all the plumbing parts and fittings, and he has excellent communication skills. He's a salesman by trade and what he's currently doing. I feel like it's just an easy fit to put him in a truck with a journeyman and learn the next 3 years. And he learned faster than anybody I've ever seen.
Well, yeah, that helps knowing what all the things do and what they are, right? That's a big.
It really does.
But still, you weren't a kid when you started, right? You had you were okay with. You're not an old guy, but now you're young. But you weren't like right out of high school and you established yourself. You had a career. You're like
started at 42.
So there you go. You were kind of starting over in a way, but it sounds like you had the right attitude, right? So it was like I'm okay with being an apprentice and learning it, and then look at how fast things go from there. When did Ginny? Maybe it's more of a question for you. When did you know David was right for this role he's in now as what's the official role title again? It's what, the plumber supervisor? Okay.
Yep.
When did you know he was right for that?
Support for this podcast comes from Dynamic Air Quality Solutions. Since 1982, Dynamic has been the leader in designing, manufacturing, and distributing IAQ products to the commercial and residential markets through authorized HVAC contractors. CertainPath members receive the exclusive value of the Clean Air Defense System private label to drive your brand in the market you serve. Our commitment starts with support. We provide you with world-class industry-leading technical and communication training, face-to-face and online. Become a Clean Air Defense System indoor air quality partner and dominate your market. Visit worldclassiaq.com for more information. And Staples. Staples is the leading provider in office supplies, offering a vast selection of products and services. Over the last 2 years, Staples has also become one of the largest janitorial suppliers in the U.S. as well. From your everyday business essentials to your office furniture, printing, facilities, and break room, Staples can do it all. Staples offers benefits to help create efficiencies in procurement and consolidate vendors to streamline internal processes. Visit staplesadvantage.com to learn more.
We created that job, I believe it was 3 years ago, and when we hired another gentleman in so that Dad could kind of step back, because I recognized, I don't have a lifetime of plumbing, and Dad has been in the business with the guys, and so I didn't want to miss that piece, that communication piece. So when we brought that technician in, I just saw through that guy's whole process that David actually had much better leadership skills, and he just needed to learn the business more, And so then when we brought in kind of somebody to kind of organize things with us and get us a full long-term plan, David was able to learn from him. And then I think by the time that guy left late October, I knew this was, David expressed to me at that time. He said, I want to do this, and I know that I can do this. And that's when I said, let's do these things over the next few months. And then I think it was just an obvious role.
Yeah. You said, let's do these things, because a lot of people that'll watch this are very much in your shoes, right? Maybe even smaller if they're wanting to get to where you guys are. And they go, how do I replace myself as the owner doing everything? So what did that process to kind of help David learn the business side? What did you do? Was he sitting with you in the office, looking at numbers? What did that look like?
So for that first 3 months, I remember after our conversation, I said, it's going to be very difficult because most of these guys here see you as a peer. They do not see you as a supervisor yet. So I asked him to be patient and courteous in understanding their vision, their impression, their perspective is different. So we worked on kind of giving him different little tasks over that first few months, and kind of letting him take, a meeting or two and things like that. And so it became a little bit more natural. And then he was just kind of thrust into it, the first of the year, just the way we are all thrust into supervisor role. Yeah. And I then really stepped back. I started to say, okay, I can't be here as much. I was gone a lot. So he was forced to make decisions, make calls. And then that is when I think the trust began to build for the guys, that they're like, okay, David can actually answer this question that I've normally called, Larry or Ginny for in the past. Right. And so now we just, it takes a good year to evolve and to let your staff build trust of that person being in, in that role. And you almost just have to be aware of the growing pains during that time, because there will be some. And then David learning and saying, okay, I can make these decisions, or these are decisions I really don't feel comfortable making yet. And being okay with the fact that knowing he's going to make a wrong decision or two, Right. And not feeling like he's going to get beat up, and not feeling like he needs to beat himself up, but learn through every single decision, that you make that, okay, this is either the way I want to continue to do it, or I need to make some changes here. And it's evolved to really work in our case. So
yeah, I think it's really the important note is you guys had patience, and you walked with him. You didn't just throw him and go, oh, figure it out, I got to go do some other stuff. which we hear a lot, and it's like, well, you were a great technician, but this is a totally different job. And while you might have the right skill sets for it, you still need to learn the job, just like, Dave, you learned how to become a plumber, right? Dave, and from your perspective, what were some of the things that were kind of difficult? If you think back, it'd be good for people to know that, hey, I've got a great technician with great skills that I think would be good in a management role, So again, you're talking to that person. What were some things that were a little more difficult to learn than maybe you thought? And what are some things that you're like, oh, that wasn't bad at all?
Learning that, like Ginny said, that I can make decisions without having to have everything go through her or Larry.
Sure.
That was probably one of the biggest things. And, of course, gaining the trust of the guys.
Right.
For years that we were friends.
Right.
Just
right.
peer, bouncing things off. And then I did have to spend that time to build the trust that, okay, well, you're now over me, but why should you be?
Yeah, right.
And I think over the time, we definitely have gotten to that point.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of like, you just can't act like you're the big shot, right? A lot of it's attitude and how you treat people. Right.
No, you definitely can't.
And the person matters. David is a very humble person. And I think the only reason that he's been successful is because humility first. So he's very humble in his role. He's, he's a goofy guy. And so so he still comes in and he's still his goofy self. And he's like, hey, I didn't change. I'm still, the guy that's going to, make a little dance or, just tell a little joke. You can't change who you are just because you're in a role, where then they just begin to think, oh, okay, you're just that now. And so I think that him being genuine to who he is, being okay, being willing to say, hey guys, I'm sorry I messed up yesterday when I told you we're going to do this. Let's go forward. Let's do it this way. And I think they appreciate that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, no one's infallible. Everyone makes mistakes, right? And it doesn't matter what role you're in. Everyone's going to make mistakes. It's good to own up to them. I want to pursue that stuff in a minute, but I want to circle back. And obviously I think you talked about culture, and I know we at CertainPath, we talk a lot about culture, and I'm guessing maybe we some coaches helped with you with maybe some ideas on how to get things moved in the right direction. But so that brings us, though, how did you find us? I know you guys joined in 2019. There was probably a reason for that. So Jenny, maybe kind of walk us through, how did you learn about, at that time, Success Group International and what we can do for folks?
Yes. So I'll never forget when this gentleman called me. I was here by myself. I had no secretaries at the time. I had all three guys that were plumbing at the time out, busy. Dad was out. He always came in and left before I could even see him sometimes. And I just remember thinking, he is wanting to step away. He's wanting to step back. And being a bank manager, I always had a network, a resource I could draw from. And I'd never been in this trades industry where I had nobody to call except my father. And I'm like, if he leaves, what am I going to do? So I remember being absolutely terrified. And this gentleman called. I think it was Eric was his name.
Okay. We got two Erics. They're both great. Yeah.
Eric, very good at communication, very good salesman. And he visited with me one day, and I'm like, you've caught me at a really good time. I'm actually willing to listen to you because I want to see. Yeah. And, that's sales. And that's what I tell my guys is that sometimes you have to call 100 times, or you have to give, all that and wait for the right opportunity. And so it was opportunity for us. I'm struggling with having questions and not kind of feeling alone out there. And when you went to that first, what do they call the meeting that you go to?
The profit day? For the first thing, profit day. Yeah, let's slow down. What did you told your dad, hey, I want to go to this meeting. And you've been doing this since 1970, whatever. What was his response? Yeah.
He said, I heard about that. Your mom and I went to one of those 20 years ago with Mr. Diamond up in Kansas, and no way, I can't afford that. And I was like, you've known about this program?
Yeah. Oh, I know Mike too very well.
We could be $5 billion in gross revenue right now. So anyway, it did take a little bit of convincing for he and my mother both, because they were, typical plumber with his wife helping him, mom and pop business. that was taking care of the bills, period.
Right.
And he just thought you had to work, 18 hours a day to be successful. And so we began to just soften up a little bit there, and we went to Profit Day, and he left it up to me. He said, it's your decision if you want to do this. I said it would really be beneficial for me to have that network of people and get some ideas, because I feel like there's things out there we could do, and I feel like I could be a much better manager. I just don't know what I don't know.
For sure.
And so that's where the relationship started.
Right.
And
Yeah. Then and you're looking at the future of the company, right? Like you want to keep growing it. You don't want this to end when he steps away, right? You want this to be a legacy business. So, right. So let's create that. All right. So you go, all right, Dad, we're going to do this, and we're going to go to EP, your executive perspective, where you learn the boot camp. Did he go? Did the two of you went?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
This has always been since the day I started 10 years ago. My mom was in the office that first week, and I decided, you don't need to be here because you and I can't work together. So she steps away, and she retires at that point. And so Dad and I, it's been me and Dad.
He was looking for her excuse the whole time.
Looking for an opportunity.
He goes, I'm out.
Yeah. So that was not difficult to do. And then, so it was he and I, and we went through the whole executive perspective, met some wonderful people. And my dad is just that David can tell you, Mr. Social, he just loves everybody, has no problem with just talking to anybody.
Never met a stranger.
So he had a great time with it. I think it helped him to see a different path for our company for the future.
Right. And this is, there's companies all over the country doing this. You've got companies coming back to do it again because they see the value in it. That's great. So when you, let me hit pause real quick. You guys come back. David, you're a plumber in the business, right? At this point, you were there.
Yeah.
What did you think? Like, what are you guys going to? Where are you going? Like, was there what were the other plumbers saying? Like, what was the thought process? Because it's rare I get to have somebody that was on the technician side on these interviews.
He was an apprentice.
Yeah, still an apprentice at the time. And all I knew was that they were going to something, they're going to be gone a couple of days. That's really all I knew. But whenever they came back, I was trying to figure out who in the world these people were.
Right.
That are coming back. Larry was out of this world. He's yelling at us, hands up, hands down, hands up. And Ginny's like, okay, we're going to start doing all this. We're going to start doing this. This is going to be great. And they brought an excitement that we were lacking.
Which some people did not like.
Yeah, it's very true.
Always going to have that.
And that's fine. And you know what? That's fine.
Not everybody is going to feel your same energy and is going to want to go on this journey. So
for sure. That's a very good insight that people need to hear, and it's okay. Not everyone has to stay, right? It's something you kind of learn, right? Let's talk about, so by the way, this happened, your EP, your executive perspective was in January of 2020. So let's talk before we get the ledge, everyone falls off the ledge and the world goes nuts. You guys started making some changes right away, right? You mentioned, kind of share with some people, what are some things you're like, we got to do this right away. We got to change how we've been doing business.
So I remember asking Missy, the plumbing coach at the time, like, where do we start first? Like, what's the very first thing you would do? Because I just have to do something. And she said, start with the service fee. Just implement a service fee. And you'll see it does not change the world, but you'll see that it does actually create some revenue there that you've been giving up for years for no reason. So we started with the service fee. And then it was, get the uniforms and the price book so that the guys felt like they were service technicians when they walked into the house. They had a uniform and they had a guide. And I think when you give them those two tools, then the rest of it is really things that you kind of figure out along the way.
That's a good point. It really is. Yeah, you got to start making more money right away. And then all of a sudden you start making more money, you can make other changes and investments in the business. I think that's a great insight. David, what were your thoughts? I mean, again, you were an apprentice at the time, right? So, but you're still, I guess you had some kind of trainings, right, Ginny, to go, hey, this is this guide and this is how we're going to use it. I mean, maybe talk about that part. Well, how did you introduce the guide to everybody? Let's cover that part.
Seems like we did very first one printed by Minuteman Press, great partner at CertainPath. Denise has been wonderful to work with. And I said, Denise, I don't know what I'm doing, but print me a guide that I can hand to my guys.
Yeah.
So
you
that's
did it
creative.
early.
Yeah.
You did it pretty early.
We did. Yes, we did it that summer. And so, and I knew, we really didn't even know the future of the country at the time, but I was like, okay, get us the price guide. And that just gave the technicians at the time, and he was doing more construction really at the time. So he wasn't introduced much to the guide. But when we threw that guide out there, we had a lot of games. We implemented a Fun Friday. Tried to do Wisdom Wednesday. But we're still working on that. That's a training day. Wisdom Wednesday. It was Motivation Monday, Wisdom Wednesday, and Fun Friday. And so put that out on the board. And we actually last year, towards the first of the year or the end of the year before, we got away from the Fun Fridays. And I think that's where the morale really started to. They just, they needed something to look forward to. And David's the one who suggested, hey, let's bring this back. That's something that we did.
But I can't say that. It was them. They came to me and said, hey, we want this back because it was fun. And so then that's when I presented it to Ginny.
That's great. Well, I think, again, it speaks to that they feel comfortable with you to go, hey, David, this, I feel like a need we have in the business. So that's great that happened. All right. So very good. So you're like, okay, here's the pricing guide. Start doing the service fee. What are some other early things you can recall? I mean, how about answering the phones? That's always something that even now people think they answer the phones right, and they don't.
Support for this podcast comes from Shuby. It's time again to get covered for the cause with Shuby. This October, Shuby is running an awesome cause marketing campaign supporting an incredible organization dedicated to supporting families affected by a breast cancer diagnosis. Throughout October, Shuby is committed to making a difference. For every pink product purchase, 5% of the proceeds will be donated directly to their partnered organization. Build relationships with your customers, show you care, and support a great cause by decking out your team in pink. This is an awesome opportunity to create your own campaign to support those in your community affected by breast cancer. Be a part of the fight and show you care. Visit Shuby's website at www.shuby.com or call us to join the fight alongside United in Pink and countless families impacted by breast cancer. Get covered for the cause with Shuby this October. Support for this podcast comes from HD Supply. At HD Supply, our job is helping you do yours. We are uniquely positioned to help drive your business through unrivaled access to professional-grade plumbing, electrical, and HVAC products and innovative business solutions such as our Stockwise inventory management program, fully customizable to meet your needs and improve productivity. Our national network of distribution centers and more than 2,200 store locations nationwide provide a national reach with a local focus, providing unmatched convenience and product availability. We power pros to do more.
I hired 2 new girls. My girl of the last 2 years was leading in October. And so in, I think, August 1 and October 1, I hired the 2 new girls that I still have today. And we sent them to, because I was like, hey, I know you guys have that training. Missy, where do I send them? What can they learn? So we sent them to the telephone etiquette. We sent them to the service essentials. All of those classes that really kind of put the original phone call, because calls were never our issue. Calls were coming in. It was having enough technicians to do the work and then having the right technician do the right job. And so that's where all of that training has really helped to kind of get an inflow of things.
Who handles dispatching now? Who decides what plumber's going to what job?
That's Kirsten. Kirsten's been with us for 3 years.
That's great. Now, so she went to the training to kind of learn that, and then did you work with her, or did she just work with CertainPath, or she just kind of figured it out?
Worked with her. We just right before this call, we had a meeting. He talked to both of the dispatchers to make sure that we have some plumbers that are some techs that are a little more advanced with technology, and some that are like, I just don't want to do that. Some that are better with communication. Some that are, are just a little less.
They'd rather do the work.
Exactly. And so it's learning even that, looking at that job when we take that call from that customer and saying, you know what, I have the best job for you. I have the best technician to do your job, basically.
Right.
But she has to then know the technicians. She has to listen to them, hear them, know what they do. So it's really the dispatchers being involved in the whole process.
Yeah. David, how much do you talk with her and go, hey, so-and-so's better at this, or, he's had a rough, and maybe you guys know you're a small enough business, someone's having a rough week, or there's an issue in family, and like, hey, how much communication is there back and forth between you and your dispatcher?
It's daily. It's absolutely daily. We have a morning call that or a morning time set aside so that we can go over the jobs for the day and, okay, is this going to look good? Is this who I need here? But every single day we do it.
That's great. That's wonderful.
David and Kirsten actually start 30 minutes every day before everyone else.
That's
so
great.
I think it's critical. When we started that last year, it gave David the opportunity to actually have, her look at the jobs with him, not knowing the software on this side of it as well. Then she was able to say, hey, here's the calls that I took yesterday, and am I sending the right people? Do we have the right equipment, for one?
Yeah.
Have the right material, for two? And do we have the right information in the job to send them to?
Right. Very good. Talking about starting the day off the right way, I'm assuming all the guys come in every morning before going to jobs, or do you dispatch them from home? They all come in. I like.
They all come in.
Yeah. So, David, what are you looking for when they're coming in? I'm sure being the personality you seem to have, right? You want to see how everyone's doing, right? It's a good way to get them moving in the right direction, right?
Absolutely. I'm always asking them how their evening went. We don't talk business right away. I just want to see how they're doing. How's their family, their kids? Is everything going okay? Your dog okay? Yeah. And then we start talking about the jobs that we did the previous day. Hey, I had this one job, man. I did it this way. Is there a better way? Oh, absolutely. I've done it 4 or 5 times. So this is the way I did it. We're able to learn from each other with the jobs that we have done that previous day. Yeah. Or if you just have one that you really have to talk about and nobody needs to hear about it.
That's all right. That happens too, right? How much time do you guys set aside each morning to do that kind of stuff? That kind of training?
Just for that, about 20 minutes. They come in about 7:45, and at 8:05, I typically give them their jobs for the day and make sure that everything is ready for them.
Yeah. Are you guys still doing, some kind of not motivation, but soft skill training, like how to run the service call, how to build options, that type of stuff?
Yes, every Wednesday we have training.
So you still do that? That's great.
We still do that. In fact, we had one this morning over building options.
That's wonderful.
We're working on that for the next several weeks. It's not just a one time. It's let's do this and let's get proficient with it.
That's wonderful. How do you decide on what you're going to do every Wednesday or every couple Wednesdays if you carry out one particular topic for a couple weeks? How do you decide on that?
Well, going back over the jobs is one way that we do it, but then we also listen to the guys. During that time, whenever we're talking about the previous day job, I had this water heater. I really don't know how I could have done that better. So that sparks ideas. Okay, well, let's get that going. I'll ask the guys, what do you want to train on? I'll even ask guys, what is it that you want to train us on? So it's not just.
Yeah. But it sounds like you're sure to mix in. It's not just technical. There's soft skills, the options. How about inspections? You guys make sure they're doing their inspections in every job?
Yeah.
Yeah, it gets a little high. Yeah.
It's been a touch point. Yes.
So this is one that we started. And I do have one guy that is gung-ho and does it pretty much every call still. Right. But then I have the other guys that I myself have not been consistent with it. Yeah. And it's something that we need to get back to.
I understand. There's always something to be worked on. Yeah, for sure. No, I totally get that. So when you guys do options training, though, I'm intrigued. How do you teach them to kind of look at how to offer more things or get homeowners to think about, hey, if this toilet's bad because it's 25 years old and it's leaking, maybe it's worthwhile to look at the other one so you don't have another emergency call, right? You're right. It's because it's not something we're trying to push anything. We're trying to serve people. And I know as someone who's had a plumbing emergency, we've all had them, it's not fun. So how do you get, how do you teach them to build options, to talk to people, to think about what else is in their home that you can serve them with?
Well, again, the one technician that does it all the time, he uses that to his advantage.
Yeah.
And he has also talked to the guys about using it as well, how it does help out.
Right.
Right. The guys are going in and they are actually looking in their immediate area to kind of help their options.
That's good.
But that's how that's done.
Yeah.
But it's going to get better, though.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to get better.
Yeah, I'll give David kudos. One training that I didn't know he was doing, and it was a think outside the box.
Okay.
What was that? It was like a think outside the box exercise. And I think so much is they're just zoned in on I gotta change the guts in this toilet because that's what I was called to do. And it's thinking outside the box while you're in that home and keeping your eyes up. When you pull in the driveway, are you looking whether it's well or septic, or is it, a meter, or, do you see a vent pipe that tells you it has gas? It's just being aware. And it's immediately when you're driving to that job or pulling up in the driveway, thinking of, looking things that you're going to look for and pay attention and listen to what the customer's telling you. Sometimes they'll call you for a leak and it's like, well, and then sometimes this gurgles over here and I don't know why. Oh, okay.
You've got to ask those open-ended questions.
Yeah.
Right. Are most of the guys on your team, are they guys that came with experience, or were they green guys that you guys trained up just like you were, David?
We're a young company.
Yeah, right. Well, that's all right though. That's pretty normal, to be perfectly honest, and that's good because most of the time, it's the younger guys that are not. They're a little more malleable. You can kind of change them and grow them a little bit. So
yes,
there's nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, I think that's going to be more and more the case in the service industry, especially. How about a club membership? Is that something that was new? Do you guys have that in place?
We did. We actually rolled that out. I think it was the beginning of the following year. I was a little nervous on how to get it started. I remember asking the questions of the bank, like, okay, how do I do this? How do I take their cards automatically? And what does that mean if they cancel? How do I, all those things that I needed to kind of understand about the membership program.
Yeah.
So I visited with my, I believe it's the cash management person at my bank. That can help with, offsite direct deposit and ACH transactions and stuff like that. So we kind of put together, what my bank wanted and needed was a form, that said, hey, I sign up for it, but then also canceling when they cancel it. So we got their written authorization, number one thing. And then we kind of created, when we did the book, we did say we're going to have club membership. We didn't roll that out right away, but we had a column in there for Diamond Club membership. Just to keep it simple, we just went with one club option, not two, because I didn't want the new team to be, overwhelmed. So we kept it real simple. And when we got those forms created through Minuteman Press, we gave the guys the forms and said, okay, now we're going to start this club membership. Super easy. If they want to, discount, then this is a way for them to get a discount, but mainly it's a way for them to have priority service.
Yeah.
And most of our customers, sign up for that. So we started with one club member. I remember our one, and now we have over 400.
Oh, wow. That's good.
Yeah.
It's good for a brand new initiative. And I know you guys have been doing a lot of change. Wow. How is that help? Because I know for a lot of companies now, it's getting, COVID's over. It's getting back to the normal and it's slowing down at different points of the year. Is that help, running those service calls, those club member calls? Does that help balance out the schedule?
Yeah, I would say the girls use it a ton when there's no calls for tomorrow scheduled. They get a little nervous and are like, oh my gosh. And so they reach for that list and they call on those club members for their annual inspections, which are always opportunities. And then also water heater flushes, that need to be done and things like that, regular maintenance. Yeah.
That's great.
It gives us a book of business to work with.
Sure. You mentioning outbound calling, I want to follow up on that. Do they also do much call behind on if you guys are slow and maybe someone said yes to the middle or the lower option, but there's, maybe they do need a new water heater because it is 25 years old and it was leaking, but they didn't have the money at the time or they didn't want to think about it at the time. Do you guys call behind on those as well? Do you kind of keep a list of folks that you can reach out to?
We do not keep an actual list, but I will tell you that with the girls being here as long as they have now, both of them have come up with some really good ideas. And sometimes I just sit back and I'm just like, throw something at me. And they have your team is really, really good at creating some revenue streams that you never knew were there.
Sure.
That the girls came up with the idea of looking back on past estimates that had already been, closed or had never been closed, that we kind of forgot were sitting there in the system. And that's exactly what they do. They call back and say, hey, a few months ago,
that's great.
You weren't ready for this, but we're just reaching back out. Even on some remodel projects and stuff like that we've bid, reaching back out and saying, hey, are you ready? You said, you were going to do this in a few months, just kind of checking your radar. So it is definitely an opportunity for getting something going when nothing's on.
Yeah. How do they just set time aside each week? They go, okay, on Tuesdays we're calling, or they just keep an eye on that board and go, oh boy, time to start calling out. I mean, is that?
Typically, yes. Calls come in, again, because Dad has been in business for a long time. And I will tell you one thing that has helped our business and our calls has been Google reviews. So
you guys have a really good, go ahead, please continue.
So we started that, I think it was last year as well, where I'd start giving $10 for every Google review.
Oh,
so
is that right?
Yeah, that does help them not to forget when they have a satisfied customer. Say, hey,
Sure.
Usually the customers are so nice at saying, oh, you did such a wonderful job, and all you have to do is say, the biggest compliment you can give me is give me, a Google review that helps my company. It helps me, and if customers know they're helping you out a little bit, they love that. They let, hey, how can I tip you another $10 by getting, a Google review?
For sure.
And so that keeps us at the top of that Google list in our area.
Oh, that's so valuable for small businesses. It
really is.
It cannot be understood. I mean, I Googled you earlier and I was like, oh, they've got it for being in a small community. I mean, I was like, wow, you guys got quite a few in the great, 4.95 star rating. So that's wonderful. And then, the guy, like you said, guys run 3-4 calls a day, $10 a call. You do the math real fast. I'm not good at math, but I can figure that out pretty fast. That helps.
$200 in just the reviews and surveys and club memberships to the guys at the end of the month. I love that.
Yeah.
I love we can get that money out.
And you can't buy, advertising better than that for $10.
Nope.
So and you said you hand it out did you hand it out or you just put it in the paycheck? I have to clarify. You said you give the club for that.
Most of the time we give up the paycheck. Sometimes we actually do cash. Yes. There's just in cash. It's great because then you have cash for the day to eat lunch on. So
instant gratification. I knew guys companies that used to do that all the time, do spips and stuff with cash. I want to just think of some other business basics. When you start with the program, you obviously keep banking background. The financial part, but a lot of people, even with the financial background, may not know what key performance indicators you need to hit in the plumbing industry. What gross margin's right. What's a good average ticket? When did you start kind of monitoring that? Did you get on that right away? I know you talked about software. No, you're shaking your head. No, go ahead. Yeah.
It's definitely been a learning process and knowing, how to balance the checkbook in QuickBooks and how to, how to figure interest rates on loans, completely different than looking at a job and trying to get to a profitability. I really have to give David kudos because he has been the driver this year. And hey, let's try to get this profitability marked down. Let's really look at each job. Let's make sure, first of all, our material is right and the guys are selecting the right material because we have this software that tells us if we're profitable, but it's only as good as the users. So training them how to use it, David first understanding how to use it, and making sure inventory was right and priced right. And then really looking at each job, we have kind of a range that is acceptable. And then we have a target, each job. Sure, some of them are going to be more profitable. The ones with no material, some are going to be a little less profitable for a bigger job. But knowing that we have that target, I mean, I think it keeps him on pace,
Yeah.
And I did not learn that from banking. I learned that trial and error, losing money on jobs, then making some money on jobs, and then finding out what jobs are more profitable for us. And when we have 10 calls come in that day, we're going to do, the 5 or 6 most profitable ones.
That's right. Good for you.
And it's okay.
Yeah, right. And it's okay. It's okay. Those people can just slide back later in the week. Let's get the big profit job. Yeah. David, talk about, so you're looking at the invoices all the time. You're looking at what materials they're using. How often are you doing that? It sounds like a daily process.
Every day, every morning when I come in. I do actually come in a little earlier than Karsten does. But yes,
everybody. He's here at 7 a.m. every morning.
Yeah. Well, you got to like it, right? You must like it if you're doing it, right? No, but but you see what the potential is in this business. You're seeing how it's responding to the changes. That's cool when you go, hey, we're working hard, but man, look at what it's doing. The guys are excited. We're making money. Customers are happy. It's exhilarating. It's great.
And we did have a little bit of an issue with guys understanding why is it that why is it we continue to ask more of them, for profitability. And we decided that one day we're going to sit down and we're going to have a training with them, and we're going to show them and how do we get to this number.
Oh,
now,
great.
Since then, the guys are all, hey, what can I do? How can we do more? Am I doing this right? Can you do something to help me out with it?
I love that. You got to get them to buy in, right? Because we've talked about sharing numbers with them, but they got to understand where that money goes, because it's not all going in your pockets, right? I mean, there's a lot to running a company, and there's a lot of money going out, right? So talk about that training. What did, that exercise, what did you do? Did you just show them percentages? This goes to this goes to that.
Well, so we've done a couple of different things. Ginny, about a year or so ago, did one. Okay, well, what does $1,000 give you on this call? And it showed the breakdown, which was kind of eye opening.
Yeah.
But then I started working with the percentage.
Mm-hmm.
If you do it at this amount, we're not going to be as profitable as what we do versus the book price. Right. So also on bigger jobs, how do you actually estimate to where you're going to be profitable? And I showed them exactly how to do that. And it's like something just turned on, a switch just turned on for them.
Yeah. Well, they probably never had any kind of business training, right?
They had not. And so I think so often they don't express this idea, but they go and they do a $7,000 job or an $8,000 job. And they think, I just made you $7,000. You're welcome.
Right.
And you don't understand that it costs $6,900, to do that job. And then I also have all of my overhead expenses. So his idea to break it down just really gave those young guys, a perspective of everything that goes in, into doing that. And then if you don't have good profitability, then you don't have that little amount to give incentives and bonuses at the end of each job or at the end of the month or the year. So I think that was good for them to see.
Yeah. I mean, I think it speaks to your push towards culture, right? If you're being an open book, you see what's going on. We're not just getting filthy rich. This is the cost of doing business, and I want you to learn it. So you can walk with us in this mission to grow the company and make more money for all of us. Because as the company grows, there's more opportunity. Just like you're proof positive, Dave. Right? I mean, you didn't necessarily know you were going to end up in this role, and here you are. And as you guys continue to scale, there's more opportunities that arise. But none of that happens without making a profit. So that's super cool. So how are you? The big thing we hear all the time, materials. Even really good companies struggle with materials. So how have you kind of kept an eye on making sure maybe no one runs the big box store? I don't even know. You guys are a small town. What's available to run to and get? I'm going to get 12 of these and 14 of those. And
worse than the big box store, because we have the hardware stores that are also trying to survive, and so they charge 4 times what they should charge for a fitting. So if you find yourself, where you haven't planned for a job or you don't have that fitting, then you're spending a lot of money on material.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have a warehouse here that we have weekly orders that we bring things in, most items that we use throughout the week.
Yeah.
And of course, we also try to plan ahead for our jobs. So if I notice that there's a job coming, we don't have X material, then I'm going to get a hold of our supplier and have it sent to us so that we can keep those costs down.
Right. So anything a little larger, it sounds like you got to kind of bump it out a little bit just to make sure you have the right, because you don't want to have a warehouse just slammed with all this stuff and that's just money sitting there and aging. Yeah, that's great. Was that something that you guys had realized early on, or is this a newer change where you're gotten a lot more streamlined with your warehouse?
Fairly newer change.
Yeah.
We started
how the guys are
last July or August, and I'd say really this July, August is really when we feel like we kind of got it down, because being in business for 40 something years, you can imagine what my dad's warehouse looked like.
Oh boy, but you had some nice, interesting things.
Yeah.
He's thrown away?
No, he doesn't throw anything away. So
I didn't know if you threw it away once he started kind of slide. Oh, okay, all right. Yeah.
Maybe a few things. Yeah.
Yeah, I can neither confirm nor deny.
Yeah,
I was gonna say we got to cut all this out. I just can't take it. Right.
So we did separate. We did decide to inventory. You can't inventory all that stuff. That is a one-time deal. So we did get a inventory of, like he said, what they like to use, what they think is best, what they use on a day-to-day, and that became our inventory. And then we created a secondary inventory to draw stuff from when things come up. So we still have a lot of that material, but it's just stuff that we would sell, if we had an auction or something like that, but it's that extra stuff.
But it sounds like you don't have nearly as much as you would, some people do. How did you explain to them, hey, it's not really good for, maybe this is part of the profit trainings, right? Like, not so, it doesn't really help us a lot when you go to, the store there and you get coupling, it's 4 times, its price, and we can get it ordered in. I'm sure you had that conversation with the guys? Absolutely.
During the gross margin meeting that we had.
Yeah.
So, it just brought it all around.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we actually used a sample of a fitting from our local vendor that we get an automatic discount from. Or if they went and the receipt from like that week where they went and they got that same fitting from a hardware store, I'm like, now look at the difference in price. If we did that on everything, we would never make any money, or we'd charge our customer a ridiculous amount of money. We need to be fair in our pricing, and the only way to be fair and make a profit is to be smart about your material.
That's great. You guys just making people wear stuff. And that's a great way to do it. Simple exercise. Guys, if they see it, here's the receipt. It makes it very apparent. That's outstanding. You mentioned, software. What are you guys using? Our software? Or what are you guys using for software? You are using our software. How long did it take you? How long did it take you to get incorporated? What's that been like for you?
It took whenever we started doing it and actually getting everything entered in.
Yeah.
So we've had the inventory for a year. That just got all. Noel was instrumental in helping us get everything set up. We still didn't have vendors set up.
Okay.
So that took a good couple of months of just sitting down, making sure our vendors gave us the right price or the price on the right material, and then getting everything put into a spreadsheet so that Noel in turn could actually upload it. And now we can choose where we get in our product from, who's the least expensive.
Right.
And just to kind of give you a timeline perspective. So we joined January of 2020. I did not change my software and my work orders until September 1st of 21. Okay. So it was good over a year and a half later.
Right.
And so we created the work order change right away, and we started doing the paper work orders that had 1 through 10 levels on it, so that when they got the book, they got the new work order. But we didn't actually switch we were just using QuickBooks and taking cash payments and bringing those back to the office and not doing any kind of software dispatching or anything like that until 2021. So we've been just 3 years this month, using CertainPath, and it's changed a little bit. It's gotten better and better and better. Right. And so we've gotten to evolve with those improvements. But
Yep.
it took a good 6 months to get the guys to understand how to use it,
Sure.
to get them used to using it and uploading pictures like they had not done before, reading the notes, seeing all the information that was in there. And I would say now, with all the technicians that we have now, they've all been here since 2021. So they've now all been on the software.
Yeah.
So now it's just a matter of onboarding them properly and training them properly from the beginning. So.
And I'd say probably once they run a job and they go, oh, look at the pictures. I know what everything's in their plumbing system. And I know this is this old and this really needs to be replaced. And they haven't. So it makes the job easier. They go, oh, okay, maybe I'm not going to fight. I know it's not fun to upload pictures and write stuff in software, but when you can use it later on, it makes life a lot easier, right?
Yeah. And when you can't read their handwriting.
Oh, yeah.
Possibly read a work order. It really helped the support staff to understand what he did, what he was doing, and what, how to answer a question that the customer may have. So.
Right. So it's been a big part of the business in the last 3 years as you guys have grown. Oh, that's wonderful. That's great to hear. Let's see. What else have we talked? I know you talked to Denisha, our coach. You guys have had different coaches through years. I'm Missy. She's still on the team. What how frequently are you talking with our team, and how's that been helpful?
We have an ongoing one-on-one with Denisha every other week.
Is that right?
It went just last Wednesday. We'll do another one next Wednesday.
That's great. And then what kind of stuff do you guys talk about? Just like what you're working on in the business, keeping you accountable to things?
We've pretty much broken things up to quarters. First quarter was culture. And we worked really, really hard on changing the culture for those first 3 months. Now, we continue to work on it. You can't just stop.
Sure. That's right.
Well, we started on that. Then we started on the business side of it. So it's great to have somebody in your corner to kind of help you grow. Yeah. And Denise has been a big part of that for me.
Yeah. It's nice to have a resource, right? You're not on an island. You're not just relying on each other. There's somebody else that's like, okay, we've got other members. We know what to do. It's good to have that help. Actually, now that you say that, you have a one-on-one. Denisha, you mentioned earlier, and I got to bring it back up. You're doing one-on-ones with the team, right? You're doing something that's part of this culture thing, right? What are some of the other things? You said one-on-ones. What are the Motivation Monday and the Fun Friday, and what are some other things that you go, it sounds kind of silly, but it makes a big difference. Everyone walks out the door more positive, and they go sell more stuff when they're more positive, to be perfectly honest. So what are some other things you've done to kind of make sure people have a little fun while they're working hard?
Absolutely. So, we do have the Fun Friday that we did definitely bring back, and it's always fun. It's a game or it's a trivia or something like that.
Is it really?
Fun, yes. We played shoes. We played pop darts. We do all kinds of crazy things on Fridays.
That's neat.
Which is fun. We also have a goal board that we put up, which has actually helped as well. We have what they did for the day, for the week, for the month, for the quarter, for the year, so they can see where they are versus their goal. Pretty much all of our guys are very goal oriented, and they really want to get that. And whenever they can see they're beating this guy over here, it makes for great friendly competition.
Yeah, so that's great.
We've also kind of started doing like a team member and family, where we'll go out on a Saturday, whether it's to go eat or something like that. And there's always a little bit of business that we talk about, but mainly, how are you?
Yeah,
let's just talk. Let's get to know each other better.
Right.
So we do that as well, and we even have team member parties as well. We just had one a couple of weekends ago, a fish fry, where we had a lot of fish, and we just had a lot of fun not talking business.
Yeah. That's great. I mean, the more you get...
That gives Dad the opportunity to come back in. He's the fish fryer, and he gets to, kind of visit with everyone that he doesn't get to do, throughout the year.
You have a lot more fun at work when you get to know the people you're working with, right? You're not a robot. You're not just a guy turning a wrench, a gal answering the phone. You're, I know you. I know your family. I want you to do well. Let me make sure I get all the information on that call to get to Joe, so Joe can do a really good job. Or Joe knows I want to get all the information right on that, entered in the software so someone's not forced to call behind. So it's funny how that little stuff just makes a big, big difference. kind of looking back at your journey, I know it's funny how fast time goes. What's some of the hardest things you guys have had to do, but you're like, it was really well worth it, whether it was a change or a new tool or system you implemented in the business? I'm kind of intrigued.
Couple of things come to my mind. I think probably the hardest thing is consistency, just in the overall when we implement something. And so one thing David is very good at, which has helped us to be successful this year, has been, one-on-ones, yes, are important. Those putting the numbers on the board is so important. And if you're busy and you miss one, somebody's not here, you just pick up where you left off,
Right.
And we're not having meetings just for the sake of having meetings. We are having, I've told him, hey, if you don't have anything to talk about, then just say, you know what, you're doing a great job. We don't have anything to discuss today. Move on about your day. Or if it's already a stressful day and they come in and they're feeling stressed, it's okay to say, you know what, we're just gonna skip that today. We're gonna move on and get things going. Being able to, quickly get off course and then get right back on. And I think that's been the most difficult thing for us. I think the biggest investment for us over the last couple of years has been first implementing a plumbing supervisor. I think that was critical. And then we bought a sewer camera, a new camera, and a jetter.
Well, okay. We didn't get into that.
Yeah, our drain business has really improved. We actually kind of figured out just a drain specialist.
That's great.
Job description. And so having that ability for the girls to be able to say, stoppages, it's always an emergency. You just want to be able to have one person you can just send, So we don't always have that, but having that over the last year has been really, I think, critical.
It has been. It's definitely helped us out a lot.
Yeah, that's great. So are you doing a lot more? What's that?
I wouldn't even have thought that was important, to have a separate, like every guy needs a service. Every guy needs to, be able to know how to do it. But those calls are different, and you can kind of get into a rhythm, of drain cleaning. And so it was a suggestion that was brought forth, and I thought it was a great idea. So.
Are you doing more sewer lines then as a result, and more digs? Are you just doing dig jobs, or are you doing others? Have you invested in any of that stuff yet, or no?
Any pipe bursting?
Oh, that's okay. Yeah.
The technology, but no, we're just doing trenching.
Yeah, that's okay. And those are really good jobs. So that's great. So the guy, your technician, he's selling those jobs, or do you have someone come behind and sell those? That's great.
Sells them. Yeah. And he gets a referral fee, for selling them or whatever. And then if he's actually progressing, and he's coming back and doing some installing. But it was set up for a drain specialist to go and do, just so an apprentice could be utilized in a way to get some of those drain calls done and understand how to camera the line and see the opportunities and give the estimates, and then refer it over to a licensed plumber for the install. And so that process, really, we learned a lot through that, and saw the potential to really keep, jobs coming, keep the revenue going.
Probably a lot more potential too in that department as well. If it's something you're just kind of scratching the surface. Yeah, that's great. That's great. David, what do you think in this journey and what the changes you've made? Is there anything that was like, this was hard or this was really worth it? And actually often they go hand in hand, right? What's hard is worth it. But anything that comes to mind?
I've been trying to think of one. Ginny pretty much took mine.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's okay. Investing in people. That is it's been a little difficult, especially finding the right person that you want to be a part of your team. But by being, I guess for lack of a better word, picky, we're able to find that person that's going to fit in well with our culture. It's been tough, but it's definitely been.
Yeah. Well, it's better to be choosy or picky, and then to hire anybody and then have to constantly That's the thing that's so easy that a lot of companies fall into that pattern. So it's rather put in the effort up front. So it sounds like you've got a pretty good crew, and you're training them, and they're learning the business.
Yes, sir.
That's great. That's great. Just kind of wrapping up. What is SGI, now CertainPath, kind of meant to you and your company these last few years?
Personally, I think it has, from a management standpoint, it has meant the ability to continue to stay the course, and keep us on track with our goals, and give us a kind of a roadmap, if you will, of where we're wanting to go, and resources along the way. So I think it's been critical. I don't know if we would have made it through COVID had we not had had I not had the focus of starting all the new stuff. And really, it was God's timing, because had I not went in January to the executive perspective, and I not got that call from Eric, we may have closed up shop in 2020 or 2021. I don't know that I would have had the excitement of getting through to the next thing, and implementing the changes, and having a coach there to say, stick with it. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. So it could very well be, God's timing.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, because you don't know how your mindset might have been at that moment. David, how about for you? What's at SGI, CertainPath? You've been through a lot of the training, and I know you're talking to coaches. What's it meant for you in this journey in the industry?
Well, starting out as a tech, it was a lot less stressful. We had our expectations. We had our pricing. We didn't have to figure out what's the price of the material versus, well, I need to charge them. How many hours have I done this? Estimations have been a lot easier. Overall, as far as, like I said, the tech side, it's been a lot less stressful using CertainPath.
Yeah. How about as now a manager? What's it been like?
Different.
Yeah.
It's
sure.
Different,
Yeah.
But being able to look at our, and I'm numbers based. I really enjoy looking at our numbers, but being able to look at our numbers and see, okay, where are we falling at? What technician is struggling over here? Which technician will be better over here? It's been a great tool to help me grow and to help our guys grow.
Yeah, that's great. Ginny, what would you say to someone that was maybe in your shoes 6 years ago? You stepped into the family business, weren't sure this is what you wanted to do. There's going to be people like that listening and watching. I'm just going to tell you right now. And they're going to go, they're looking for help. They're looking for a resource. How's CertainPath been that resource, been that help for you to kind of get you to see what the vision can be for the future?
It's really been critical. I think that for me, I'm a people person. So having someone that I can call, lean on, the relationships that I've built, throughout the company over the years, that's been really, really important. As my dad has went from maybe about, 75, 25% to literally we see him a couple of times a month. He feels very confident, I think, that we have a plan, we have a goal, we have a budget, and we're going forward. And so I think it gives him the peace of mind to step back as the owner and enjoy the fruits of his labor. And we take pride in being able to be the ones that get to carry on his legacy, and allowing him in his later years to enjoy the fruits of his many years of labor. So I think it's critical. And I think that if you're at that period, you're an owner that is thinking, what do I do now? What do I do next? The number one thing is find key people with good personalities and good communication skills.
Yep.
You can teach them the rest. And then if you join a CertainPath, it is a definite roadmap for success. And you don't have to do it all at one time. You can. And there's some of it that we've tried that just didn't work. We just didn't like it. And that's okay. Yep. We've taken the bits and pieces and the parts that work for us, and we've moved forward. So
yeah, that's great. Last question: where do you guys see the company in 5 to 10 years? Have you thought about that?
I'm going to Aruba. I don't know what he's doing.
I see it becoming mine.
There you go. There you go. David has really had a great year, and he has showed interest in purchasing the business someday.
Okay.
It's Dad and I have considered, okay, let's see what the future holds. Not anything we're wanting to do right away, but definitely make us feel good that we have someone that is willing to continue the legacy, that it can, move forward. So.
Yeah. Where do you see, growth wise, how many trucks are you guys at right now?
Right now we have 3 trucks.
Yeah. 4
trucks.
You'd be the 4th.
Absolutely. We'd have 4 trucks.
Yeah.
But I'd be more than happy to see 10 plus trucks in the next 5 years.
You have a really good business at 10 trucks. That's not unwieldy. You can definitely manage it and do really well. That's great.
10 trucks and a minimum of $5 million in gross revenue. I think it's doable. I've seen it happen. We've taken a pretty slow approach up to this point. Yeah. Just because we are rural and we've kind of isolated where we wanted to work. It's been close to home. We have 2 metros that are right outside our reach that would probably double our business immediately. So we've looked at doing new things, entering the pipe bursting, the leak detection, water leak detection. We've talked about several different things that we feel like would be amazing investments into the company that would ensure additional growth too.
Absolutely. You guys are doing it right. You figured out the margin part first. You got to figure out that, then you can scale it. So anyways, that's wonderful. Ginny and David, thank you so very, very much for all your time. Went a little longer than maybe I expected, but you guys were just so great and had such great insight. I can't thank you enough. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We appreciate the opportunity.
Support for this podcast comes from Train and American Standard. The Train and American Standard Diagnostics mobile apps are a technician support tool with many features to help technicians better install and service systems in communicating and 24-volt applications. When installing Train and American Standard Link equipment, our latest communicating technology, technicians can connect to the equipment via Bluetooth through the Train or American Standard Diagnostics mobile app while on the job site. Once connected, technicians have access to a dashboard of features, including real-time sensor readings, fault conditions, the ability to view or change system settings, automatic charging, and more without standing at the thermostat. Through the Diagnostics mobile app, technicians can easily configure or diagnose a Train or American Standard Link system from the palm of their hand. For 24-volt applications, the Diagnostics mobile app guides the technician through the installation for select 24-volt equipment, providing wiring diagrams, dip switch configurations, and downloadable PDF installation reports. Technicians can access a customer's diagnostics data, see active system alerts, remotely connect to select smart thermostats, access a refrigerator calculator, and search Train American Standard residential product literature. This is one tool all your technicians should have. Train and American Standard Diagnostics mobile apps are available for download in the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store. The Successful Contractor Podcast is part of the CertainPath family. CertainPath builds successful home service businesses and has for over 25 years. We do it by providing contractors with a proven path to success, professional coaching, software solutions, and a member community of 1,000 plus strong. Doubling your sales with a 20% net profit and an inspiring company culture is all possible. Let us show you the way. With CertainPath, success is made certain. Visit www.mycertainpath.com or call 888-909-6604 for more information.